Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. You guys know what time it is? Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. But this isn't really that, is it? It's not really a current event. It's more of a current frequent question I'm getting a lot lately in the comments. And you guys remember we went through this whole thing many years ago, even before I was infamous on here, with the whole Spoto press. The problem we have when it comes to powerlifting is that whatever a world record holder does for their supplemental work, everyone out there thinks that that is what they are personally supposed to do. Until that person's record gets broken and then their stuff becomes trash and they go to whatever the next person did, right? It's kind of how it works. It's a monkey see, monkey do thing. And this is coming up because I teach the barbell row a certain way, right? I teach very strict Pendlay rows. And I think for the majority of lifters out there, you're going to get the best results out of doing that for your back development, for your overall training, everything else. But it's extremely different from what Cailer Woolam teaches and does personally. And then when I disagree and say, hey, no, this is what I want you guys to do, this is what I think you should be doing for most of you, it creates a conflict because Cailer deadlifts more than me and he's showing a different form of row. So it's like, well, who am I supposed to listen to? It's like, guys, put that in perspective. And by the way, I have a lot of respect for Cailer Woolam. Guy's a phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal deadlifter. Dude is ridiculously strong. And he's smart. He knows a lot about training. And you can't take any of that away from him. But let's come over with when we think about these supplemental lifts, and people need to understand that supplemental lifts are specific to that person, and in some cases, their genetics and abilities are so good towards an exercise, as long as they hypertrophy the appropriate muscles, they're going to continue to be close to world record level. Okay, it's not that his form of rowing is going to be special or that it's going to get you to a 900-pound deadlift. And it was the same thing. People kept saying years ago, what do you think about the Spoto press? And now, even now, I could look and say, okay, there are lifters which I think could benefit from the Spoto press, right? If it addresses your personal weak points muscularly or at a joint angle. Okay. But remember the Spoto press, coming down, stopping an inch off your chest, holding it isometrically, and then pressing. Now, there are people who can benefit from that, from a technical perspective, from learning to recruit the pecs perspective. But if you're doing it just because Eric Spoto was doing it, and it's kind of like back then, it's like, oh, everyone did the Spoto press, and then it's like another guy comes along and breaks his record. It's been broken more than once now. Since then, his 722. Who doesn't do the Spoto press? So then the argument becomes, well, if they all had the same ability, maybe the Spoto press held him back. Maybe had he done a different accessory, he would still be the world record holder because he's not the world record holder anymore. You see the flaw in the logic of assuming that because a world record holder uses an accessory movement that it is going to give you the best results and is the best accessory to do. I mean, we could have come back and argued that Spoto might have had just as big of a record, or 5 pounds stronger. His 722 might have been 727. Had he replaced that slam slot in his training with a floor press or a closed grip bench press, right? Now, we don't know because he didn't. We don't know because he didn't. So we come over to someone like Cailer who does kind of a cheat type Pendlay row, right? It's rowing for deadlifts. If your goal is maximizing back development overall, I can tell you that is not the best way to row. Is it specific to him for his deadlift? Probably. Has it probably helped Cailer be a world record deadlifter? Yeah, probably very well has. But it's also important to keep in mind Cailer competes in weight classes. He has a very unique structure. A lot of people are like, he's got kind of a weird structure. Why's he got this long? Well, that's the way he's built with the really long arms and his leverages. There's a reason he's good at deadlifting. Okay, he has a structure that allows him and that's genetic, guys. You can't change that, to be the perfect deadlifting machine. Okay, that's his genetics. And welcome to the real world. The world isn't fair. Okay, some people are built a certain way. And you could do, just like with any other sport, basketball, for example, you would never compete with Michael Jordan, okay, or Magic Johnson. Sorry, guys, not going to happen. The majority of you out there are not built the way they are structurally, muscle fiber distribution, all these other factors. You would never be on their level, even if you did everything that they did. And in fact, everything that they did might not be ideal for you, right? Cailer is relatively, I'm not saying he's not a big guy, because he is a big guy, right? But he's not necessarily particularly thick. That would be the way to look at it, because of his structure, maybe some of the way he trains. He's not particularly thick. Now, is that a factor? Well, maybe so, because he competes in weight classes. He stays very lean, competes in a weight class. Maybe he doesn't want muscle in certain areas. Okay. But if he did put on 5 pounds of extra thick muscle and he got bumped out of a class or whatever, his lifts wouldn't go down. Here's what I would say. The majority of you out there shouldn't be looking at stuff like your rowing as saying, well, can I take the row and put it just in the area that puts just the perfect muscle balance for my deadlift on? Or should I just be getting as thick as possible? And most of you out there need to just be getting thicker and bigger. All right, and a very strict row allows you to do that while using a lighter weight that you can recover from by doing more volume. Okay, you're going to get thicker due to stimulus versus fatigue with a stricter row. You just will. And it's great for teaching isometric contraction of the posterior chain. And for the majority of you out there, you're going to get more out of it. There's a reason I teach it that way. And I mean, guys, I'm working on my deadlift. If I thought the way that Cailer rows is best for everybody's strength, I would do it. Okay, I would do it. And it's probably worked great for him. But let's come over to the other point. Cailer has an extreme work ethic, an extreme structure, very genetically gifted. His deadlift would probably be just as good if he did a completely strict Pendlay row. Okay, and let that sink in. Let that sink in. Look at the mechanics of it and look at what he needs to do for his deadlift. I honestly think that if Cailer did a different form of row, I don't think his deadlift would be less. I don't think that had he done a different form of row, like his 950 deadlift would drop down to 900. Let's be realistic here, guys. You have to be realistic when you assess these things. Does anyone really think his deadlift would have been 50 or 100 pounds less had he used a different, stricter form of rowing? Which he may do in his training. We don't know everything he does. Right? You can't look at that and say, hey, well, that's the secret to his success. The secret to his success is that his structure and genetics, and he trains his freaking butt off. Okay, there's the secret to his success. It's not the way that he does the row. That is not the reason of that specific way he does the row variation is not why he's the best. Okay, just like I said before, I'm sure the Spoto press for Eric Spoto was a great lift. Sure it was. But the Spoto press was not the reason that Eric Spoto had a 722 bench. I promise you that same guy, had he done a different assistance movement, that guy still would have had a 700 plus pound bench press. Just like if Cailer chose to row differently, common sense and understanding the human body and training should tell you he would still have over a 900 pound deadlift. Okay, he still would. He still would. Don't get caught up in, hey, I should change what is probably generally going to be the best way to do certain exercises to this variation because a guy who's very genetically gifted with a specific frame has a world record in a lift, so therefore that must be the best way that I should do it. Well, that's not necessarily the case. It's not necessarily the case. Now, he feels that carries over to his deadlift and helps train his deadlift from a movement pattern, and maybe it does. It very possibly does. I'm not saying it doesn't. But that is not the secret to his success, is the fact that he does his row that way. Okay. So we're not disagreeing. And when I say to you guys that the majority of you out there, you would probably be better off rowing the way that I'm teaching, I'm not saying Cailer Woolam is wrong and he doesn't know what he's talking about, that you have to pick between us. Okay? That's not what I'm doing. Not what I'm doing at all. But people are ridiculous like that. They will actually see you saying something like that and they want to turn it into a conflict. They want to turn it into a conflict. And here's the other thing that I would say. Everyone out there who says that you think that you need to do everything exactly like all the world record holders do, then you need to pick better parents. You need to do their drug stack. You need to go live in the town where they live and work whatever job they work. And you need to live their exact identical lifestyle in every way. Don't say it's just a one exercise. If you want to do what they do, then do what they do. And do what they do. Because that one exercise is never the reason. That's never the key reason why they're a world record holder. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.